Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. All right, we're getting ready for Lag Boimer. Every minute is precious. So just want to finish off something we started last week. We spoke about a Shaila with Jenny Miller and the plaque in the Ponevich Yeshiva. So Amilsa Gavurcha. First of all, I want to go back to that for a moment. The only and the reason is that it'll help us a little bit in the next Shaila. There's a Shaila that actually came up here in the shul. And understanding this Shaila will help us in the other Shaila. So whoever wrote this article did a little bit of research, and he found, as I said last week, that this woman was a frum woman, grew up in America, and so she had one of the first people she hosted. 1929, the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. Really, one of the big things was to raise funds. But it turned out that when the Frierdiker Rebbe came here, it was like
after the stock crash.
Yeah, he came about it. So it was like, but they write that that Jenny Miller and her husband gave generously. They gave $9,000, and they made a dinner, and so together they collected $15,000. Okay. Yeah, big schum back then. Okay. So I don't think the amount of moist at that time. I think the Frierdiker Rebbe had different asagas when he came here, but it turned out that really that the trip that the Frierdiker Rebbe had here was less. In retrospect, was much less to do with money and much more to do with planting seeds in the United States of America. There was an incredible amount of seeds that the Frierdiker Rebbe planted in many cities, yeshivas that he established, and also there's sort of the connections and things that later saved his own life. So, 1929. Yeah. So it's interesting. You never know. Everything. Yeah, the first time he came.
When he said that America is not different when he came.
When he came the second, no, when he came, yeah.
So it was different.
The first time he came officially, he came to collect funds for mostly for the Eden that were in Russia.
I think he saw the president of the United States.
I don't know. It's well recorded. Is. So this leads into nice, so the Chassidim that were in America, so there was a lot of, Yidden that came in America from the 1880s, and some of them were already not so connected, but still they had
memories.
Right. So they tried to help, and one of the things they did was they made a big deal in the press. They made a very big deal in the press. So and they made an unbelievable splash in the press. And the Frierdiker Rebbe did have that did, and like I said, it didn't translate into money, but it did translate retrospect to a lot of good connections and planting seeds. But this person found a letter to the editor. So there was some article about Jenny Miller, 1980, in the Jewish press, and next week someone wrote a letter to the editor. So I have to read you pieces of the letter. It's just beautiful. So the person said that there were a bunch of students. They live in Philadelphia, and they saw the splash in the press, and it like rubbed off very not so good on them. So rubbed the wrong way. They were discussing the putting a tzaddik on a pedestal. What does he think? Does he think he's taking over the Almighty? Does he think he's a deity? So they said no. They heard that he was in Philadelphia in this house, Jenny Miller's house. They're going to go to her house and they'll talk to him. Okay. So in 1929, several articles appeared in various Jewish newspapers available in Philadelphia and talking about the Rebbe. So they said they're going to go. They go, okay. One of the articles I mentioned, he'd been given the use of the house of 33rd Street by Mrs. Fagin Miller, a woman well known for her charitable nature. Okay. Late Saturday evening, we all piled into a car and drove to the listed address. Our intention was to confront the Rebbe and to challenge him. To ask him if he thought he would replace the Almighty.
Whoa, there's nothing wrong, too.
I just tell you. As we climbed the steps of the front porch, we saw through the window that the living room was crowded with men. We rang the doorbell, and a dignified, bearded man came to the door and inquired what we wanted. One of us responded, "We'd like to speak to the Rebbe. We have an important question to ask." At this time, the man was taking notes. We found out it was the Rebbe Fagin, the Becheskel Fagin, the Rebbe's personal secretary. About what he said, the Rebbe must know the question before he can see you. We would like to know how we can expect to keep our old-fashioned religion in a modern country. In brackets, we knew we wouldn't tell him our real intention. He ushered us into the house, through the crowded living room, and up the stairs. We wondered why we had been admitted before all those people downstairs, waiting before us. At the top of the stairs stood the Rebbe. He was handsome and saintly looking, with gleaming bright eyes. He wore a large fur hat. It was after Shabbos. The Friedrich used to wear Shtanamel on Shabbos. His hand was outstretched in greeting. We were surprised. We never had known a Hasidic Rebbe. Once we were seated, he took a long look at each one of us. Then he began, "You look like very intelligent young men, and therefore I must speak on your level. You're wondering about these people downstairs who were here before you. Probably they all speak Yiddish in 1929.
If they're reading Jewish papers,
The forward, they said the forward, 1929, the forward had more subscriptions than the New York Times. Yeah, versteht so. Well, here are some of the problems for which they're asking. To help, one man's daughter is seriously ill. What can I do? Nothing more than he can do, provided that he approaches Hashem. He should be able to ask for complete recovery. Another man has a lawsuit. He wants us to pray. He wants me to pray for him to win. I don't know who's right, but he can pray to Hashem. He'll give justice. There's a man who wants to buy a business. And he wants me to intercede to make that a success. If I could do that, I'd be a rich businessman myself. But if I cannot answer your question, I'd have no right to be a Rebbe. The Rebbe smiled. He continued, "First, I must admit a great secret, which I trust you will most likely keep. There's 630 mitzvahs, and while the Lubavitcher Rebbe tries to keep them all, it's impossible to keep all of them. So what does he do? Discard 613 mitzvahs? No, he keeps as many of them as humanly possible." Person continues in the article with these few words. He removed all the venom that we brought with us. Then he asked us to try to keep as many mitzvahs as we could. So if we kept as many as we could, we'd be doing the same thing as the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Give it to him.
Then he asked for our Jewish names and mothers' names. We also offered our legal names and addresses. He said he had no need for them. Several of the boys put their hands in their pockets, but he stopped them with a gesture thanking, and he said he had no use for the money. What he wanted was mitzvahs. He asked us whether we all put on film every day. Several admitted they'd given it up. The Friedrich Rebbe offered them a film. When they left, they said they stood at the porch for nearly 2 hours, digesting the visit. Everyone agreed to pray at least once a day. One said he would give up his Saturday work as a dental technician. And some months later, he even prevailed upon his employer to do the same. One of us, Gabriel Lowenthal, of blessed memory, attached himself to a synagogue and taught what he had learned from the Rebbe's philosophy to many others. The Depression and later World War II gave me little hope of gaining more light from the Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson. However, I found continued inspiration from his son-in-law, the present Rebbe, to keep as many of the 630 mitzvahs as I can. Louis Boxer, Philadelphia.
Beautiful. He put that in the newspaper or
He said it as a letter to the editor, the
Jewish press.
Jewish press. Shine.
No, whoa.
I just speaks for itself. Shine. If you remembered every word exactly or didn't, he's huh?
Been around over 100 years.
That's 1980. No, this
The letter.
no, the letter that he wrote to the editor was 1980. They wrote an article about this woman, and he wrote a letter about,
The family.
yeah.
He was probably 70 at the time he wrote the letter.
Yeah.
70, 72.
Huh? No, the guy who wrote the letter. Yeah. Okay. So first, let's go back to the Shah. I want to read the main thing that we spoke about last week, and then just a little nakuda about this. Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Nun Gimel Sifyud Beis writes like this: Misha yesh lo tnayim hakol shel yuchel live in the Beis Haknetz kimhu bezari. Ein yochel limker schus alacha. If the Kehila gave someone a schus, they said that he could always build a shul. He can't give as a Yerusha. He could give it as a Yerusha, but he can't sell it to someone else. He could give it the Yerusha, but he can't sell it. But Taz writes, "Mordechai Perek Chalamai said, I mohadam min tachta min bona v'noikad min chalal miyochal apapi shein malach mavaysev tamalam v'asher v'asher miles yodoi daf kibizman shem malam mavaysev kol poshken shein rash l'malch l'ach l'rosh l'sakol at kol l'shayne." That a child always goes into the shoes of his father if he has Yiras Shamayim. Okay, but versteht sich, he can't any minus rorish of Yisrael, he can't sell it. Okay. Nearly mized zeu davke bisman shakol kibdel echad bedav ze domi dahi the kohen gadol shman mes bechinam avlim kon echad na kol skuz ze konay kol skuz shabay lekol kinyan da alma. If they sold the schus to someone's going to build a shul, so he bought it. He could sell it to someone else. He bought something. If I bought a pile of cups, I could sell it to someone else. I don't want to go too much into this again because we covered this last week. So he said that when the kahal gave a schus to someone that he can build a shul, so he can yashin it, that schus to the son, as long as the son is a Yiras Shamayim like the father. But he can't sell it because he has nothing, doesn't own anything. But if he bought the schus from the shul, so then he could sell it to someone else. But by the way, the person can't be Adam Sheni Hogam. Okay.
This is all verbal. It's a verbal agreement. It's not like a star writing something.
Well, it happens to be in this story. There was a star. There was a star signed by the Rosh Yeshiva and the Rav in Philadelphia. So there was a star here. Okay. So these are.
Was it in Yiddish English?
Huh?
Was it in Yiddish English?
The star? I don't know. Probably in Hebrew. So okay. So last week I said that she bought something. So she bought, and that building was taken away. So she had like a stake in a building. I want to read for you, and this is going to be important in a minute. There's I mentioned last week, there's a Rav, Rebbe Elazar Barkan, who's a Rav in Polotsk, published the Shalos Tshuva Sefer 110 years ago. And he talks about a certain sale that basically someone sold someone else a piece of land, but you can't build anything on it. So the shaila was, was like maybe Iyar rights or something, and the shaila was, could you sell something that's not tangible? He sold them land. Today it's more common to sell Iyar rights or such things. It wasn't so common back then. So he the shaklatay, if you could sell something which is, the guy can't build on it. So what are you selling him? Are you selling him anything? Are you selling something? Or you're not selling him something. That was the shaila. Not negate the shaila. What's negate is the few lines that I want to talk about
So
now.
I mean, going back to the earliest time I can think of is, when Yaakov bought
The Bechor.
yeah, the birthright.
So it's a
Actually,
shaila.
well, something tangible.
That's a good shaila. It's an excellent shaila. You're asking.
Okay.
So he says that it has to be in this story that it's really like when they sell him the schus in the land, that he really got something tangible. That it's considered like some type of schus he has in the land. Because he could build there, he has like a certain schus in the land. Even though he can't sell the land, he can't buy the land, he can't park himself and make his office on the land, he can't do much, but it's like he has a shtickle of schus in the land, like Ilan L'Peiroisav, a person sells his tree for the paid, is like a certain person owns something.
Like, before Shemitah, they were selling, a tefach of land. And
No, that's not a raya, that's a shaila. That's a shaila for really. If you're doing it as a schus, that's great. But otherwise, take, we have to figure out.
What can you do with tefach of land?
Yeah, what can
Supporting
you,
farmers.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's what it was the idea for.
right. That's the idea. So if you get stuck at,
Like,
Like-
don't need that. I
Right.
need it.
okay. Then he says like this: Vein lafakfak bazaloyme the kol shiny the miltza the kol afilo balakinyan works. Kamishkasa b'chayshemish but simakuf samach gimel. In simakuf samach gimel, it says it talks all about the laws of taxes. In those days, there was a very heavy Jew tax. So the in all over Europe, in Sfarad, in
Probably
Spain,
also
in
probably the
Portugal,
Middle East too.
in Middle East, I don't know exactly, because these are the Shalas Chuvas from the Rajba and the Ramban, which are in Barcelona, and what happened in Iraq and Yemen, basically. But definitely in Europe, the way it worked is, maybe it was a little different in the Sephardi countries that are in the Middle East. There were more, the monarchs were a little stronger, maybe it was a little, but there was also there was taxes. I don't know.
They were second-class citizens.
They were
The
second-class
Hebrews,
citizens. Yeah. I don't know if this was exactly the same, but Kobe was exactly the same. They basically, the king was like the Jews were his property, and the Jews paid for protection. So there was a tax that went to the Kehila. The Kehila had to provide. So how did the Kehila pay the taxes? So the whole Shaklavatayu, do you lay out the taxes according to the household? Do you lay out the taxes according to people's wealth? Depends which tax, what tax. It was a very complicated child. It's discussed mostly in Simakuf Samach Mishpat. Over there, the Shulchan Aruch says that if the Kehila guy goes in for the office, the Kehila, and they say, you know what, you're part from paying taxes. Why would they say that? Presumably, he came in and he said, you know what, my uncle is the best friend with the Mellah. Next year, I'm going to get you a discount on the taxes for 50%. They said, oh, okay, so you're part from tax. Whatever it is. Then he's part from paying taxes, and there's no kinyan required. As long as the Shiva Tuve Iyar said it, the representative of the community says it, it's done. It's a done deal. You don't need a kinyan. So the Shail, so why? So the Yesh Laimash Afshem by Mamash Makomok Nimtza the call Ali Mitvei Laknuya Fila Dovish Ain by Mamash. So he has a chiddush over here. He wants to say, usually we say you can't sell or buy something. Dovish Ain by Mamish, you can't sell and buy. Yeah, I can't. The Dovish Shalei Bal Oil. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the Hudson River and I'm going to fish. I'm going to bring out 7 fish. Sell to you today. Not a sale. Today in this world, there are such things that they sell things.
Futures.
Yeah, they sell futures. But in Api Alocha, there's no such thing. So the truth is, there is a trick Api Alocha how to sell futures, but you can't sell futures. So he wants to say a chiddush that because the call doesn't have to make a kinyan. Why? This is his chiddush. 3 lines. It's a beautiful chiddush. It's like he's saying like this. Why can't you sell a davar shalei? Why can't I sell you the fish that I'm gonna catch tomorrow? Because how could you make a kinyan? We're making a kinyan. How can we make a kinyan of something that doesn't exist? But if the call could sell something or give something without a kinyan, so they could give a future also. So even though the taxes wasn't chal yet, and the chiyuvim of the taxes didn't chal yet, and it was 2 years before, what are we talking about? But you see that they could verbally pater, so Zaraya, they could sell a davar shaloi baloilam. So the kihila could sell you the fish they're going to catch tomorrow. You can't sell. If you say tomorrow you're going to buy coffee and you sell it today, you can't.
And I remember they used to sell after Pesach, the pizza shops. Before Pesach, they were optional. You're right to buy the
still do it.
buy. And the money goes to startups.
$400 first buy.
First buy. Is that
$400, yeah,
allowed?
people work in line to buy.
Is that allowed?
That's a good question.
It's a good cause.
It's different. If it's different, they have the dough, they have the flour. It's a good shaila. It's a good shaila. It's a good shaila. But anyway, he wants us. Right, it's a shaila. If you could say that maybe the guy could back out. I'm saying it's not poshut. It's not poshut. If the guy, so now if it's for tzedakah, is what we're going to talk about now. If it's for tzedakah, so this is the chiddush that he wants to say. So if it's pizza for the store, is taka good shaila, that maybe the guy could back out.
Because for the store, the money goes for
That's what I'm saying. If it's for tzedakah, that's the chiddush.
Back at the customer or the store owner?
So that's the chiddush. He wants to say that when it comes to we say in the Shulchan Aruch that the community could say you're part of from paying taxes, you don't have to pay taxes. So Zaraya, that the community could give something without a kinyan. He says, however, once you get it from the community, you can't sell it to someone else. How do you sell it to someone else? Something that's aimed by mamash. You can't.
Tax credit. People do it all the time. They sell
Again, so api halacha, you can't sell tax credit. You can't sell. So I was talking to someone last night. He's making a profit of a few $100,000 because he bought an insurance, a cap. He bought an insurance he took on a $39 million property, a mortgage, but it wasn't a fixed rate. So he bought an insurance that over a certain amount he won't have to pay. And then he did get a good rate. So he's selling that insurance policy now this week. And he's hoping to make a couple $100,000 in that. Api halacha, you can't. This is Adam Shalai Balal. We can't sell such a thing.
So you're telling
You can't buy. You can't sell such a thing. Huh?
You're telling me he can't sell it?
I didn't say anything. It's. I'm just telling you what I. Yeah.
He's selling to a guy.
He can sell to you too if he gives you the money. It's no problem. Shaila is if he gets stuck sometime in the middle of the deal and you go to Bezdin and then this guy doesn't want to pay up. That's the Shaila. So here's the thing. He has a beautiful chiddush here. So he says the kehila could sell you something that is not tangible without a kinyan, but you can't sell it to someone else. But with the shul, the reason why the Taz says you could sell it to someone else is because you have a piece of the land. You have a shtickle in the real estate. You have something in the land. Okay.
Wait, why did you say before the air rights you can?
I don't want to talk so much about ear rights because that's the shaila he's talking about, and I don't want to get back to it.
No, you.
Okay, so that's the shaila he's dealing with. But I don't want to deal with that shaila. I want to deal with the shaila with the. So now I want to get
the building
right.
itself.
Right.
Okay.
So now in the question with the story of Jenny Miller, it's not so clear that she actually got a chelik when a person has a right to build. I'm not so sure that the name on a building is as strong as the right to build on the karka. So I'm not so sure. Last week I said that it's hers, of course she paid for it, so it's just like the Taz, who says that you own a shtickle. So I'm not so sure. I have a suffix about it. But I want to segue into with this to our next shaila. What happened? Huh? So I'm not sure. I'm a little bit mefakfik. I'm still not being choiz at what I said last week. I'm just okay. The question was we sell aliyas in Beis Menachem Mendel. This year, by Chosin Torah, Chosin Bereishis, someone bought the aliyah. And then someone else went over to him and said he really wanted to buy the aliyah. So he said, okay, I'll flip it. So the first guy bought the aliyah for 50 times high, and that's Reuven bought it. Shimon said he'll pay the Reuven 100 times high. Like we're all funny deals. The Pearl, everyone, like these deals go very sour. And Reuven didn't pay to nickel to Beis Menachem Mendel, and Shimon, I don't know if he ever paid to Reuven, but that's whatever. That's the way these funny deals go. So the lesson is that. So now the shaila is, could we say, no, the truth is you could always make a, for the future, we can, so what's taka the din? So what's taka the din? What's the din? If you buy an Aliya, say you get a good Aliya, and someone else wants it, you say, you know what, I bought it for 50 times chai, I'll sell it to you for 100 times chai. Would you do it or can't you do it?
The money goes to the shul? Regardless?
No. Shimon,
So you're making money on Aliyah? Impossible.
it feels not good.
Very bad.
It feels very bad. Okay.
No,
So-
No, it's a business.
What is that, business? I'm asking a shaila. And this was happened here in shul. Like I said, it must be not right because at the end, everyone was not happy and we never saw a nickel from the Aliyah. Is a simon that it's not good. But that's what happened. So,
Was that for one Aliya?
yeah.
50 times 5?
It's cousin Grace.
It's Choshen Bereishis, it's Choshen Torah. It's a discount,
You
100.
can come here and
Uh,
If you don't pay, it's not a big deal.
You got me correct.
So
It's not a file, yeah.
let's read the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham writes, Kosav Yam Shal Shloima, Heidekei de Beitza, Achrozas Amitzas Mishit und Yoiser und Isike Bo, Do Mitzvei la Mekach Memke, B'hoi Nira Leser im Loi, Shnei Meshem Sheikh Mekach Memke, B'dvar Mitzvah Kim B'chefetz Anikna. It says that they're in the shul, they sell on Shabbos, they sell the mitzvahs. It's also, you're doing business on Shabbos. Unless you'll say that, this is Davar mitzvah b'chefetz anikna. Chol zayin al yasher minig bedoichik. Aber knis mekemes beis haknesses v'chik knis es roigim min hakol achik gemanu mitzvos an osa. Bizmo mitzvos am eine koine geser gatzmer rak lotzes bei viele bei Rishon sharei. Tzerch lach zer avlikens eser a shefe b'yamtev nirli doser. V'amachuve be'einai k'moi shenogu chassidei Österreich. The kol ma shehoitzi bepiv lita noisen l'tzdoka. Afila kona chaveiroi chona chavera mitzvah. Im kein ha-kitzitzes domim l'tzorich mitzvah. V'lo dom al-mekach ha-memka klal. V'shor afila knis m'kaimis v'botim atzdok. Chol yishamayim yizor v'ze ad kan l'shayim. This is all a quote that the Magen Avraham is bringing from the Yam Shel Shloim. So the Yam Shel Shloim,
What do they do last week?
they did like this. If the one guy says 10 times chai, second guy said 20 times chai, and the third guy said 30 times chai. The first guy gave 10 times chai, the second one gave 20 times chai, and the third guy gave 30 times chai. So this is totally not mekach memka. It's poshet. Ketzitzes damim lo tzedakah. It's like saying I want to give this. That you're allowed to give the poiskim tzedakah b'Shabbos. It's totally not mekach memka. So that's what the Chassidei Ashken Österreich did.
Good idea. But the person's already so embedded, he's already paying 30, and he's already paying him.
Right. This would, if we all did that, it would be okay. Lapoil, the minig is not to do this. Lapoil is the minig is to rely on the kula. The Alter Rebbe brings it also, and all the poskim achronim bring this. And Lapoil, that's the minig, the alma. I'm saying this because it's very important to me in a few minutes to emphasize that this is taka the minig. The minig is in Klal Yisrael today to sell the mitzvahs, and whoever wins is the one that pays, and the other people that bid doesn't pay. That's minig Klal Yisrael today. So even though you could say that the Yam Shel Shlem had a problem with it, and even the Alter Rebbe says it's only bedoichek, but that's what we do. Well, the minig Klal Yisrael, minig is kaveh d'alocha. Minig Klal Yisrael is to do it this way. That's the way it is. Huh? Everyone does it this way. I haven't heard one kehillah that does it like Chassidei Österreich, that 770 they do it that way. I never heard one place that they do it, that everyone that picks up their hand pays. No, everyone does it this way. It's very important to me to emphasize this because I'll tell you in a minute why. But well, that's the way it's done. Now read another line. It says the Magen Avraham, "B'shilta geboirim it's a Masechtes, what's it called, Baba Kama, whatever. Tafshin Chabeis, Mefak.
You're in the next paragraph.
No. This paragraph starts. The line Ubishilta Geboirim. Here, Ubishilta Geboirim here.
The last one.
Ubishilta Geboirim. Be'ayin Aleph Daf Shin Chabeis Mefak Vegam Ken Atnis Mitzvahs. He has a problem with selling mitzvahs. Beseches Baba Kama because of the Adam Yochel Imker Mitzvah Shaloi Leach. So the problem with the Magen Avraham is always very bekitzer. What is he saying? Like they say in Yiddish, don't get metachere, get krechen tzakotchere. Where's he going? Where's he coming? Where's he going? What's he saying? So the Pashtus, what he's saying is like this. He's saying there's a Lushit Tosek. If you hold your allowed to sell the Shaliyas and Shabbos, you can't flip it to your friend because it's not a real sale. What are you saying? He's saying it's not a real sale. Then sell a chair, a table, an esrog, a shofar. That's not awesome. But the schus is not a real sale. So if it's not a real sale, you're not allowed to flip it. The Shilte Geboidim says you're allowed to flip it. L'shitose also that he had a problem that you can't sell Aliyahs and Shabbos. And that's what he's saying. Shilte Geboidim mefakvik. You see what's going on over here? The guy that says you're not allowed to sell the Aliyahs and Shabbos says that if you sell the Aliyahs on Friday and Reuven bought it, he can flip it to Shimon. And the guy that says that you're allowed to sell it on Shabbos, so he would hold you cannot flip it. He doesn't say it, but it's a clause. That's what he's saying. Because otherwise, he's saying there's a machlokes. Where's the machlokes? The Yamsher Shlomo said you could sell Aliyahs on Shabbos, and the Shilte Geboidim said that whenever you sell Aliyah, the guy could flip it. So they said two different things. Well, who's bothering? Elamai, the Magen Avraham saw it as a l'shitase. He saw it as a line. If you could sell it in Shabbos, it means you're not selling a table, you're not selling a chair. So how could he flip it? What am I selling you now? But if you say that he could flip it, he's selling him as chus and it's tangible. Oh, then you're not allowed to sell it in Shabbos. It's like selling a table and chair. So it makes a lot of sense if you think about it.
Yeah, this real from the paper. If it's not a real sale, you put a real from the paper.
Right? So now the shaila is how you look at it. So I see a beautiful shaila, a tshuva sefer. I don't know who he is. Reb Avram Tzvi HaKoyen, it's a tshuva tzu, Reb Shmuel Luria Shlita Rav, Umatz, the Chassidah Vision, Antwerpen. It's a contemporary Rav, very nice tshuva. And he thinks that he says a svara that the second opinion, the Shilte Geboidim holds that Aliyah is like something tangible. It's like a bottle of water or a pile of cups. Okay. But you have to argue about that. But mainly he says, what's the opinion of the Amshel Shlomo? The Amshel Shlomo holds that when you're selling a mitzvah, it's nothing. It's not a sale. It's a neder l'tzedakah. So if I make a neder and give tzedakah, so the shul owns the Aliyah, and the Gabbai is being nice to give it to me. I promise to give kach tzedakah. And the Gabbai, theoretically, he says the Gabbai could say not to give it to me, give it to someone else. He can cancel it. That's what he thinks. That if someone whispers to the Gabbai after he says sold, I would have given you 100 times high. The Gabbai says, okay, bottle mavutal. Okay, I'm taking 100 times high. That's what he says. I don't think that's the pshat. I think the pshat is that the Yamsher Shlomo maybe holds like this Moedik Svara from Harav Barkan. That's not the pshat that it's totally not a sale. It's a dovish ein by mamish. The truth is, what is an aliyah? When you sell someone aliyah, now he gets 10% in the Sefer Torah. If you sell him psicha, now he owns like 3% of the wood and 2% of the material in the paroiches. That would be wacky to say that. He got the schus to open the Oren Kodesh. It's a dovish ein by mamish. How do you sell a dovish ein by mamish? It's like selling futures. How can you sell it? So Alamai, what are you going to say? How can you sell it? Because the Kihila has that special koyach. Just like they could sell without a kinyan. Just like they could make a sale without a kinyan. And they could sell something she'ein by mamish. But the thing is, the Kihila has the koyach. But Reuven can't flip it to Shimon. So therefore also, if the my pshat is right, you understand why he said there's a pickpocket. Why? He said it's bedoichik. Why is it bedoichik? If you say it's only a neder, what's the doichik to make a neder b'Shabbos to give tzedakah? But if you're learning the way I'm learning in the Yamsher Shlomo, it is a sale. It is a sale. It's just there's a special chiddush that when the kihila makes a sale, they could sell without a kinyan and even a dovish ein by mamish. So therefore, you could say when Chazal said you're not allowed to make business in Shabbos, they meant the real deal. But if you're selling like the kihila, dovish ein by mamish without a kinyan, you're allowed to. But we don't know the beferish. Therefore, it's a bedoichik. And that's what he accepted to be the halacha.
Rabbi in Bet Torah, they sell the big aliyot like Matan Torah online week before. You can bid week before, and whoever the higher bids get it online.
And they pay
You come there,
They-
everybody has the aliyot.
They do it. Do they do it b'shita that they don't want to sell on Shabbat because they don't want to do mekach umemka b'Shabbat?
No, they're just easier
Because it's easier.
and doesn't
Oh.
take time.
Oh.
You can charge it back right away.
Oh, okay. No, it's a
And
very
people
important.
pay there. It's very.
Okay.
We're talking 10, 20, $30,000. I was there when people bought for $40,000, and they bought it week before.
Uh-huh.
So you know who it is. Everybody knows who bought it.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
think it's beautiful way, and
Yeah.
it bring a lot of money because the average people there. I want to give 20. Okay, I give 30. I give 50. I give. They get beautiful way.
Who does that way?
Better.
Better. Beautiful.
But
So
is there a benefit to the person getting Aliya or Psicha or something? Is there a benefit?
Spiritual.
Sure.
Okay, so there is a or intangible benefit then.
So it is a benefit. The shaila is if you look at it as a tangible or intangible. That's the shaila. So the shita that says you could flip it and you could not sell it on Shabbos probably holds it's a tangible thing. The other shita holds it's not a tangible thing. Elamai, how are you selling it? Because it's a special thing that the kehila could do. The kehila could do. They could sell Davar Shein B'mamish without a kinyan. The kehila could do it, but Reuven can't flip it to Shimon. So
But if the whole kilo is it's okay, then it's okay. The whole kilo is
no, that's the way it is. The call has a koyach to sell it, but the Reuven cannot sell it to Shimon. It's like selling to Shimon fish that he's going to get tomorrow from the East River. He can't sell it. It's a davar shaloi b'al olam. The only tekihila could sell a davar shaloi b'al olam, not an individual. So,
but before Pesach, you take orders for who wants it back. How many people want a big real big matzahs? How many people want to come buy in or something? There's no matzahs. You don't have matzahs yet, but we.
so Taka, so you're right. So it's a shaila. Each one of these things are separate, a good shaila. Taka, shaila. If he's taka chayiv and not chayiv, you make an order. Say maybe it's a kehila and the kehila is chayiv. It's a good question.
How about you buy Aliya and the Aliya you give somebody else? You honor somebody else. It's okay. How about Shlishan? I want to give yours.
So look, if no one's arguing, obviously it's okay. The shaila is only when someone's arguing against it. So in our case, I think.
People would have to keep her name on it.
Huh?
Ponevich Yeshiva had to keep her name on it. Regardless of what the Nazis did. It's nice that the killer gave it there.
Oh, that's that. Now you're helping what I'm being mistopic. I'm thinking that it wasn't stam. Maybe Taka she got a key. It wasn't stam a real estate thing and say, oh, the real estate was stolen. She bought the schus in a. That's why I'm being mistopic in it. And they gave her something, and they have the koyach to give her the. That's why I'm starting to be mistopic in what I said last week. But it's not so nageh. She was Ponevich anyway. They decided to put up a plaque. I'm just thinking of the two sides of it. So when it comes to our shaila about flipping Aliya, again, what happened was that Uvein bought Chosin Torah for 50 times chai, and he flipped it to Shimon for 100 times chai. So it's a machlokas, it's a clear machlokas. Shilta Gebaidim says you're allowed to do it, and the Yam Shel Shlomo, the Marshal says you're not allowed to do it. So so okay, and if you learn it the way I'm learning it in the Yam Shel Shlomo, the first person's taka chayiv to pay. The first person, it's not like a neder. You can say Zatoris Nadorim. It's a deal, it's a sale, and that's it. It's done. It's done. Now, Lanius Daiti, we're going to read soon in a minute, as I have a little suffix. And what I would say, there's a klal. Usually, there's a klal that kimli. If the money is in my pocket, the bezin says we're paskin because Tosfos said like this. I come along. You see, I found that Ramban says that I'm right, and since the money is in my pocket, kimli, the money stays in my pocket. That's a golden rule in bezin kimli. So the money stays in my pocket. So what happens if the Beis Menachem will say to Reuven, you have to pay? So he's going to say, Kimli like the Shittel Tegebayden. So I'm going to say back, again, I'm not saying anything to anyone, showing whatever. But if Reuven would come and ask, if he's chayiv, if Reuven was listening now to the shir, so I'm not looking who's looking at the shir, but if he's looking at the shir, he would ask Shayla, yeah? What do you mean Kimli like the Shilta Gebäude? El Klal Yisrael. Even Bet Torah is selling it only because they want to make it easier, the process. All Klal Yisrael, the world over, sells the Aliyas B'Shabbos. all Klal Yisrael sells Aliyahs b'Shabbos. So why are they selling Aliyahs b'Shabbos? Is that Ayah they hold that it's not Mekach Memke. Is the Charayah, you're not allowed to flip it. The Magen Avraham made the Chalashitosai on this. So what are you telling me, Kimli? Kimli like the Shilta Geboidim? That we know that the one of the rules of Kimli is you can't say Neged Kimli Neged HaShulchan Aruch. So there's a shaila. Maybe only the Sephardi countries can't say Kimli Neged HaShulchan Aruch. Maybe other, yeah, but not. But Pashas, you can't say Kim. Why can't you say Kimli Neged HaShulchan Aruch? Because once Rabbi Yosef Cairo Paskin and all Klal Yisrael accepted it. Oh my Kimli. Who are you to say Kimli? Who are you? Everyone, Kimli, I like that other shit. I know, I learned the sugya well, and I go like the other shit. Say there's a dispute between Reuven and Shimon. Rashi says that the Reuven should keep the money in his pocket, and Tosfos says that Reuven has to give the money to Shimon. And Tosfos says, so the Bezin says the halacha is like Tosfos. The guy says, no, I'm not paying, because I learned the sugya, and I think Rashi's right, and the money's in my pocket. So since the money's in my pocket, Kimli Rashi. So a person could always say that.
It means he doesn't have to give money.
He doesn't have to give the money. The money stays in his pocket. But when could you say Kimli? So it says Rabbi Yonis Neifshitz in Urim V'Tumim that you can never say Kimli against the Shulchan Aruch. So Bevada, you can't say Kimli against Minig de Alma. The whole world Firzach Mefakev Taliyas B'Shabbos. So it's hard to me. Okay, but still, I found something that gave me a little pause about this. Let's read it inside. The Aliya Rabbi writes, "Kosok Knesset Gdelos Kufnan Gimel B'Shem Ari Bruna. Shnaim Shekona Mitzvah B'Yachid V'Hisna B'Nei Misheina B'Beis Knesset Yitel Chaveri B'Mkoimah." That the Reuven and Shimon bought both for the entire year. That they both have Machir or Mazon. And the deal was that one of them, if one of them is in shul, the other one's not. Whoever is in shul gets the maftir between the two of them. They sometimes sell the aliyahs for the whole year. Umeitz Echad Mehem Botl at night. Ad Kan. We needed the Shayach L'Yorshim. But the other opinion says, no, the Yorshim take over. Pagav Nekos Shorik Nasek Doilos Simazet, the Mishkon Omeis, Av Sheyesh Baal Achesroines Shayach L'Yorshim. Miu b'mokim sheyesh minig, hakal afi aminig. Asayim the Yorshim Esmu Choyavim L'Tapel B'Mitzvah L'Shalom L'Kol Devei Mitzvah Shekonu Meirisham Oyim Kura Mitzvah. Umach Sheyechseru Yishalom L'Kol V'Miyois Mocher B'Yois Revach L'Yorshim Ad Kan. So this year there was a two people, Reuven and Shimon bought. They said they're going to give 100 times chai for maftir, but they're paying it up in installments over the year. Now, so Shorik Nesek Dola says that if the father Reuven passed away, the children step into his shoes, and they get the aliyah, and the mechuyev to pay whatever he didn't. They step into his shoes, and if they don't want to pay, they could flip it, and if they want to make a profit, they're allowed to make a profit. So you see clearly that there is a shita that you could sell and make a profit. The Shorik Nesek Dola holds that way. So then he writes, the Oilas Talmud says, Simon Kufim Dalat Kos of the Lloyd Nehira. It's not true. The it says in the Mishnah, that you can't do business with tzedakah. So you can't flip it. You could flip it. You could sell it, but the revach is going to have to go to the call. So Reuven bought the aliyah for 50 times chai. So he has to pay 50 times chai. Now he flipped it to Shimon. So Shimon has to pay the 50 times to the call. Not that he's going to pay 100 to Reuven. That's what that's the.
I think it's a good, legit thing.
It sounds very good. However,
what happens to more money?
Reuven say
for 100.
He flipped it for 100. So Reuven has to pay the 50 that he promised for the aliyah to the kahal,
right?
and Shimon has to pay also to the kahal the other 50. That's the Oilas Talmud shit.
Usually people do that.
That makes sense. However, the Aliya Rabbi slugs him up. He says, "La'nius daiti." He doesn't slug up the svara. He just slugs up the raya. Lo shayach inyan de mishtakrim lahacha. Oh, sometime the kedisa basar yuchs and the behekdish ein mishtakrim mishum de ein anis v'makam ashirish. U'bitzdok is dilma misaram lo anim v'lakel misfelo. That you're not allowed to take the money from tzedakah from hekdish and invest it. Why? Because ein anis v'makam ashirish. Today, even Ashirim invest their money. In the olden days, it was Manashas, the people that are Aniyim invested their money. Ashirim didn't invest their money. It wasn't like a business, money makes money. It wasn't such a world. So for Hektish to invest money is a bezoin to Hektish because Ein Aniyim Makam Ashiris. So we don't invest money from hektish, and money that's designated for aniyim, we also don't invest. Why? Because even though right now the kupa is full, but what happens if all of a sudden 10 aniyim walk through the door, and now the money's tied up in investment? We don't have money for the aniyim. So therefore, you're not allowed to invest the money. So that's the pshat ein mishtakin b'tzdakin. That's the pshat that ein mishtakin has nothing to do with what you're talking about. B'chol hanech taimel l'shayich hocha. V'kivin shekon ha-mitzvahs la'atzma v'noisen de meilot tzedakah rir shaloi. V'chem maisim b'chol yoim. Shafilo ba'al ha-mitzvah atzmoi. Pa'amim moicher la'acher k'shenitzrach l'kach u'marviach bo. He says, maisim b'chol yoim, that people do it. That's what the Aliya L'Torah writes. He says, v'chem ma'ashma b'mogen Avram simen shimvov sivkot tezvav. So the Magen Avraham is what we just learned. I don't know how he saw it's mashma in the Magen Avraham. I don't see what is mashma. First of all, the Magen Avraham brought it's machlokes if he could flip a mitzvah or not. So and the Magen Avraham sounded like he was more noita in one way that you're not allowed to. And even if you're allowed to flip it, who says you could be marviach? Probably the way he learned that you're allowed to be marviach because it belongs to you. The other shit that says you're not allowed to sell on Shabbos. Why you're not allowed to sell on Shabbos? It's something tangible. If it's something tangible, you can flip it and make a profit. That's probably the way the Aliya L'Torah learned it in the. But still, I don't understand. Okay, so that's what the shit the Gebodim shit. But the Yam Shel Shloimeh says that aliyahs you do sell on Shabbos, and according to the Magen Avraham, the flip side, if you're allowed to sell aliyah Shabbos, is that you can't flip it. You cannot. If you could flip aliyah, you can't sell it on Shabbos. Because if you allowed to flip aliyah as araya, that it's something, it's business. You're not allowed to sell it on Shabbos. So I don't understand how, to me, but L'Poel, you see.
Maybe it's a loss range. We don't go afraid of those guys not to pay because if it sells it, at least they'll recoup and maybe even make more. It's not shy to say it.
That could be. But still, the Shiur Knesset Gdola said L'Poel that he holds Imocha b'yoysa rebach liyosh, and also the Aliya L'Torah L'Poel says V'chem ma'isa b'chol yom shafila bala mitzvah atzma l'pomim moicher l'achir shenitzach l'mavia.
We're afraid that the Iyar is not going to get involved. Forget about it. Like this.
So why are we letting them take that ever?
Because if you make money, you're going to do it.
Ah.
The loss of things. The way of incentivizing them to stay involved.
Okay. Here. Balbat Sheswara, but nothing wrong to say about Balbat Sheswara. I hear.
I know in 770, one of the Gebodim always buys Hagos of the year and resells them.
And he resells?
I'm sure the one is going to 770, but.
But here's theoretical question. So, like I said, Mechatchila, my Svara Pshuta was that because it's Tolin, the Machloikis of the Shilta Geber and Yam Shel Shloimeh. So if Klal Yisrael is not like the Yam Shel Shloimeh. We sell aliyahs and Shabbos. That means we hold it's not a tangible thing. So you can't flip it. That's it. Case closed. You can't flip it. But we see L'Poel that the Aliya L'Torah brings from the Shiur Knesset Gdola, he himself. And he brings also the Oilas Tamid. The Oilas Tamid also holds you can flip it. It's just the Omach says, the Oilas Tamid says that the profit in between must also go to tzedakah. And Aliya L'Torah himself and the Shiur Knesset Gdola says no, that the Shimon gets to put in his pocket the Revach. So someone's saying now a svara that maybe take it's not a tangible thing, but we have to recoup the losses because, like you see, like the story that happened in Beis we got the zero. So the Doyle's Talmud said you're not allowed to keep the profit. It's also because that's the way he learned Amish Takrim mitzvahs of tzedakah.
But the guy who bought it from the other guy, he got the Aliyah and he just ran out of town.
No, he says I promised something to Reuven. It's between me and Reuven. It's nothing to do with Beis Menachem.
Was it an Aliyah?
It was an Aliyah.
So he got the Aliyah?
He got the Aliyah.
And he didn't pay.
No, it's a little more complicated than that. There was a business deal between Reuven and Shimon. He's gonna do for him a job that's worth $25,000. So originally he gave him a job and he quoted 25,000. He said, "I'll do it to you now for free." So he says that he can't redo the job for Beis Menachem Mendel. Understand? So that's the nitty gritty of the case. I a little simplified it because Lagabi, the question we're talking today is not so negeya. that nuance of the question, because that's not going to make enough kamina in the answer. But that's exactly what happened here. But anyway, so let's just make a quick maskona. We have our machloikis about selling aliyahs b'Shabbos. If you're allowed to, you're not allowed to. And the flip side of that is if you're allowed to flip it, it's a kula and a chumrah. Lepoil, we see that the El Yerabah and the Oilos Talmud and the Shorek Knesset Agdola, which one is Ashkenazi, two are Sfardim, and so the other way. So as Talmud El Yerabah are Ashkenazim and the Shorek Knesset Sfardi, they both hold that you could sell aliyahs. Shaila is if you could pocket the profit. Some say yes, and some say not. Okay, we already went a little over the time. The third shaila we'll leave a mitzvah for next week. Okay, the Eibishal Halfen that tzedakah should always be mishtakir, and the best investment is to give tzedakah, because the Eibishal said b'chanuni na bezois. The Eibishal Halfen take that we should see it the Pal Mamish.
Yeah, I know 3 watts.
I watched that.
You're the one.
Else. Yours was. Yours bench.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anybody wants to make a zone?
Yeah.
Are you ready? After leaving, I can answer.
Yeah.
Actually, ask him, I'll ask the Rabbi. Should I have a second child beyond the WhatsApp? 100.